Imagine standing in front of a towering stone structure, its walls etched with symbols no one can decipher, its corridors leading to chambers whose purpose has been lost to time. This isn't the plot of a fantasy novel, it's the reality of countless ancient buildings scattered across our world, silent witnesses to civilizations long gone, their secrets still locked away. From hidden underground crypts to towering megaliths that defy explanation, history is filled with architectural mysteries that even the brightest minds haven't been able to solve. What were these places truly built for? Who walked their halls, and what rituals or knowledge vanished with them? Today, we're diving deep into 25 of the most baffling historical buildings ever discovered, structures that refuse to give up their secrets, no matter how many centuries pass. Think about the last time you encountered something that made you stop and wonder. Maybe it was an old photograph with no caption, a locked door in an unfamiliar house, or a story from your grandparents that left you with more questions than answers. That itch of curiosity, that need to uncover the truth, it's the same feeling historians and archaeologists grapple with every time they stumble upon a monument with no clear purpose. These aren't just ruins, they're puzzles waiting to be solved, each one a glimpse into a world we barely understand. Some were clearly built with immense effort, their stones perfectly aligned, their designs too precise to be accidental. Others seem almost alien, as if they were meant for something beyond our comprehension, and the most haunting part, we may never know the full story. That's what makes this journey so thrilling. Whether it's a temple hidden beneath the sands of a desert, a fortress with no apparent enemies, or a network of tunnels leading nowhere, each of these structures holds a piece of a mystery that spans centuries. As we explore these 25 enigmatic sites, you'll start to see patterns, echoes of human ingenuity, devotion, or even fear etched into stone. Some might have been sacred spaces, others could have served purposes so mundane we'd never guess them today. But one thing's for certain, behind every unexplained wall, every cryptic carving, there's a story waiting to be told. So let's step into the shadows of history together and see what secrets we can uncover. Rising from the arid plains of southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe shatters everything we thought we knew about early human civilization. This sprawling complex of massive stone pillars, carved with intricate depictions of animals and abstract symbols, predates Stonehenge by a staggering 6,000 years, built around 12,000 years ago, long before humans settled into farming communities. That fact alone rewrites history. Hunter-gatherers who supposedly lacked the organization for such projects assembled these 20-ton limestone blocks with precision that still baffles engineers today. The site's layout, a series of circular enclosures with towering T-shaped pillars at their centers, feels deliberate, almost ritualistic. Some pillars feature fierce reliefs of foxes, scorpions, and vultures, their details so sharp they seem to whisper across millennia. What were these carvings meant to convey? Were they warnings, prayers, or a language we've yet to decode? Theories about Göbekli Tepe's purpose clash like storms over its ancient stones. One prevailing idea suggests it was a sacred space, perhaps the world's first temple, where nomadic groups gathered for ceremonies under the open sky. The absence of domestic debris, no hearths, no trash piles, hints that this wasn't a settlement but a place of pilgrimage. Others argue the pillars align with celestial events, their positions marking solstices or star patterns, turning the site into a prehistoric observatory. Then there's the more unsettling notion. Could these carvings tell a forgotten story of survival, a record of environmental catastrophe or mythic upheaval? The site was deliberately buried around 8000 BCE, filled in with tons of soil as if sealing away its secrets forever. Did its builders fear what they'd created, or were they preserving it for a future they'd never see? What makes Göbekli Tepe truly unforgettable isn't just its age or craftsmanship. It's the way it forces us to question the timeline of human progress. Agriculture, settled life, complex religion, we assume these evolved slowly, step by step. But here's proof that humans came together to create something monumental while still living as hunter-gatherers, defying every textbook narrative. The site whispers a tantalizing possibility that civilization's roots run deeper and stranger than we ever imagined. Were its builders inspired by visions we can't fathom? Did they inherit knowledge from an even older, lost culture? Every unearthed pillar chips away at our certainty, leaving us with more mysteries than answers. And that's what makes this ancient enigma so irresistibly compelling. Standing alone on the windswept Salisbury Plain, Stonehenge's massive stone circles have watched the sun rise and set for over 4,000 years. Its very presence raises more questions than answers. How did Neolithic people, without modern tools or machinery, transport these colossal bluestones from Wales, nearly 150 miles away? Why arrange them in such precise patterns, with lintels balanced perfectly atop uprights like some ancient architectural marvel? The stones themselves seem to hum with intention, their placement too deliberate to be random. At dawn on the summer solstice, sunlight pierces through the heel stone, casting a golden beam directly into the heart of the monument. This alignment isn't coincidence, it's proof that whoever built Stonehenge understood the heavens with a sophistication that still leaves astronomers in awe. But was it a temple, a burial ground, or something even more extraordinary? Excavations have revealed cremated human remains, suggesting it may have served as a sacred resting place for the elite. Yet the sheer variety of artifacts, tools, animal bones, even fragments of musical instruments hints at a space alive with ritual and gathering. Some researchers believe the arrangement mirrors celestial movements, turning Stonehenge into a prehistoric observatory for tracking eclipses or lunar cycles. Others propose it was a place of healing, drawing pilgrims who believed the bluestones held mystical powers. Then there's the lingering theory that it functioned as a colossal calendar, its stones marking the passing of seasons with eerie precision. What's most striking isn't just the mystery of its purpose, but the sheer determination behind its creation. Picture teams of people hauling stones weighing up to 50 tons across rivers and hills, shaping them with nothing but stone hammers and brute force. The effort speaks to something deeper than practicality. This was a labor of devotion, a monument meant to last millennia, and perhaps that's the true enigma, not just what Stonehenge was for, but why it mattered so profoundly to those who built it. Every chisel mark, every carefully placed stone whispers of a culture that saw meaning in the stars, the earth, and the passage of time in ways we're still struggling to decipher. Modern technology has peeled back some layers. Ground-penetrating radar has uncovered hidden pits and pathways, suggesting the visible stones are just the tip of a much larger complex. Yet with each discovery, the puzzle only grows more intricate. Was Stonehenge one grand design, or did its purpose evolve over centuries as generations added their own layers of meaning? The stones stand silent, their secrets locked in the language of a world long gone. What remains undeniable is their power to captivate, drawing us into a mystery that, even after thousands of years, refuses to be solved. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as the last surviving wonder of the ancient world, its flawless geometry piercing the sky with a precision that still defies logic. 4,500 years after its construction, this colossal structure continues to guard secrets within its labyrinth of hidden chambers and narrow shafts, features that challenge everything we think we know about its purpose. While textbooks label it as Pharaoh Khufu's tomb, the pyramid's interior tells a far more intriguing story. Take the so-called Queen's Chamber, a misleading name given by early explorers, as no queen was ever buried there. Deep inside, this room houses two mysterious shafts, each barely 8 inches wide, angling upward toward the pyramid's exterior. Unlike the king's chamber shafts, which align with celestial bodies, these narrow tunnels serve no obvious functional or symbolic purpose, at least none we've yet uncovered. Were they air vents, spirit pathways, or something even more enigmatic? Modern robotics have ventured inside, revealing small doors with copper handles, hinting at spaces beyond still sealed from human eyes. Then there's the subterranean chamber, a stark, unfinished room carved into the bedrock beneath the pyramid, its rough walls and empty pits sparking endless debate. Unlike the polished grandeur above, this space feels deliberately crude, almost primal. Some theorists suggest it was meant to symbolize the underworld, a spiritual counterbalance to the pyramid's celestial alignments. Others propose it held a functional role, perhaps as a water chamber or part of a lost hydraulic system. The precision of the pyramid's construction only deepens the mystery. Each of its 2 million stone blocks fits together without mortar, gaps so minute you couldn't slide a credit card between them. The corners align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, a feat requiring astronomical knowledge that shouldn't have existed in Khufu's era. Unconventional theories about the pyramid's true purpose range from the provocative to the seemingly outlandish, yet some deserve a closer look. Could it have been an ancient energy generator? The granite in the king's chamber contains trace amounts of quartz, a mineral known to conduct electricity, and the pyramid's shape eerily resembles modern experiments with electromagnetic resonance. Others argue it functioned as a colossal archive, its dimensions encoding advanced mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. Even the idea of extraterrestrial influence lingers, fueled by the sheer improbability of its construction methods. But perhaps the most humbling possibility is that we've underestimated the ingenuity of its builders. The pyramid's secrets may not stem from lost technology or alien intervention, but from a civilization far more advanced and far more mysterious than we've ever given them credit for. What makes the Great Pyramid timeless isn't just its grandeur, but the questions etched into every stone. It refuses to fit neatly into our historical narratives, standing instead as a riddle wrapped in limestone. Whether tomb, temple, or something beyond our current understanding, its silent corridors remind us that some mysteries are built to last. Beneath the sun-baked plains of Cappadocia in Turkey lies a hidden world that stretches deep into the earth. Derinkuyu, an underground city carved entirely by hand over 2,000 years ago. This isn't just a single tunnel or chamber. It's an entire labyrinth of living spaces, stables, kitchens, and even wineries stacked 18 levels deep, capable of sheltering up to 20,000 people at once. The sheer scale is staggering. Hallways twist and turn like veins, connecting homes, chapels, and storage rooms, all illuminated by flickering oil lamps. But what's truly astonishing isn't just the space, it's the sophistication. Shafts plunge hundreds of feet downward, acting as natural air conditioners, while a network of ventilation ducts ensured fresh air could reach even the deepest chambers. Massive circular stone doors, each weighing up to half a ton, could be rolled shut to seal off entire sections, suggesting a people prepared for siege or catastrophe. Who built this city beneath a city, and what were they hiding from? The most compelling theory points to Derinkuyu as a refuge, a place of last resort during times of invasion or persecution. Cappadocia's soft volcanic rock made it easy to carve, but also left the region vulnerable to waves of conquerors, from the Romans to the Arabs. Early Christians fleeing Roman oppression may have expanded existing Hittite tunnels into this subterranean stronghold, adding chapels with crosses etched into the walls. Yet others argue the city predates even them, its origins lost to time. Natural disasters could also explain its creation. Geologists note the region sits on fault lines, and the underground chambers would have offered shelter from earthquakes or the volcanic eruptions that shaped Cappadocia's surreal landscape above ground. But Derinkuyu's mysteries don't end there. How did the inhabitants manage essentials like water? Ingenious wells tapped into underground rivers, while hundreds of storage jars held grains and oils for months of isolation. The absence of soot stains suggests they mastered ventilation to prevent smoke buildup from fires, a feat that would stump even later medieval engineers. Then there's the eerie silence. No records from its builders survive, leaving us to piece together clues from pottery fragments and tool marks. The city was abandoned abruptly sometime after the 9th century, its stairways choked with debris, as if its residents meant to return but never did. What lingers most about Derinkuyu isn't just its engineering brilliance, it's the palpable sense of a community determined to survive against all odds. Walking its narrow passageways today, you can almost hear echoes of hushed voices, the scrape of stone doors sealing out danger, the quiet rhythm of life persisting in perpetual twilight. Was it fear or faith that drove people so far beneath the earth? The answer may lie hidden in the dozens of other underground cities nearby, some still unexplored, hinting at a network of subterranean escape routes spanning the entire region. Derinkuyu stands as a testament to human resilience, a monument not to kings or gods, but to the ordinary people who carved out safety in the dark. In the rolling green hills of Ireland's Boyne Valley, Newgrange rises like a timeless sentinel, a massive, grass-covered mound hiding one of the most sophisticated prehistoric structures ever discovered. Built over 5,000 years ago, this passage tomb predates both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid of Giza, yet its precision rivals modern engineering. Step inside its narrow stone corridor, and you'll find yourself walking toward a chamber bathed in an otherworldly glow, but only for 17 minutes each year. At dawn on the winter solstice, sunlight pierces through a perfectly aligned roof box above the entrance, flooding the inner sanctum with golden light. This isn't chance, it's a celestial alignment so exact it required generations of astronomical observation to achieve. Who were the people who designed this light show across millennia, and what did it mean to them? The tomb's construction is a marvel in itself. Over 200,000 tons of stone and earth were carefully layered to create a waterproof, structurally sound dome, a feat that still puzzles engineers. The entrance stone alone, carved with elaborate spirals and diamond shapes, weighs several tons. These symbols repeat throughout the site, winding across curbstones and chamber walls in hypnotic patterns. Some researchers interpret them as depictions of the sun's journey, while others see maps of the afterlife or even ancient mathematical equations. The spirals seem to pulse with motion, drawing the eye inward, perhaps mirroring the cycle of life, death, and rebirth central to the builder's beliefs. But Newgrange's true purpose goes beyond a simple burial site. While human remains have been found inside, they're fragmented and mixed with animal bones, suggesting rituals far more complex than mere interment. The solstice alignment hints at a spiritual connection to the sun's rebirth, a moment when the darkness begins to retreat, promising renewal. Imagine the scene, a community gathering in the bitter cold, watching as their ancestors' chamber ignites with sunlight, a tangible link between the living and the divine. The acoustics amplify the mystery. Whispers spoken in the chamber resonate unnaturally, as if the walls themselves were designed to carry voices across time. What's most haunting is how little we truly know. The people who built Newgrange left no written records, only these silent stones. Were they honoring their dead, worshipping celestial forces, or conducting ceremonies we can't begin to fathom? Even the name Newgrange is a modern label. The original meaning, lost to history, might have held the key. Nearby sister sites like Noath and Dowth share similar designs, suggesting a sacred landscape meant to mirror the heavens. As the winter solstice light fades from the chamber each year, so too does our certainty, leaving only the enduring magic of a structure that continues to outshine our understanding. Crowning a hill overlooking the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, Sacsayhuamán's zigzagging stone walls defy both time and logic. These aren't just barriers, they're masterclasses in engineering, built from limestone blocks so massive some weigh over 100 tons, yet fitted together without mortar so tightly you couldn't slip a blade of grass between them. The precision is inhuman. Stones curve and interlock like puzzle pieces, their edges beveled to resist earthquakes that have toppled modern buildings. How did the Inca, without iron tools or the wheel, quarry, transport, and place these monoliths? The answer lies in a forgotten artistry, pecking stones against granite for generations, polishing surfaces with sand until friction alone held them in place. But the real mystery isn't just how they built it, it's why. Some claim Sacsayhuamán was a fortress, its three-tiered walls designed to repel invaders. The sheer scale supports this outer walls stretch over 1,200 feet, with towers that once offered panoramic views of approaching threats. Yet there's no evidence of large-scale battles here. Instead, archaeologists find traces of ritual, altars carved into bedrock, channels that may have carried ceremonial liquids, and the enigmatic Intihuatana stone, a sundial-like pillar used to track the solstices. The zigzag walls mirror lightning bolts, a sacred symbol to the Inca, linked to their sun god Inti. During the June festival of Inti Raymi, sunlight still strikes specific stones at dawn, bathing the complex in golden light as it did centuries ago. Was this a military stronghold or a temple disguised as one? Theories grow stranger the deeper you dig. Spanish chronicles describe underground tunnels radiating from the site, possibly leading to other Inca shrines. Local legends speak of a vast, star-aligned city beneath Cusco, with Sacsayhuamán as its gateway. Even the name whispers ambiguity, while often translated as satisfied falcon. Some scholars argue it derives from Sacsay, meaning to be full, and Huamán, meaning spirit, a place where the earthly and divine collided. What lingers isn't just the stonework's brilliance, but the duality of purpose. Sacsayhuamán stands as both shield and shrine, its walls echoing with the ghosts of warriors and priests. Perhaps its true genius was versatility, a space where defense and devotion intertwined, where every perfectly placed stone served both king and god. The Inca left no blueprints, only these silent megaliths, their secrets locked in geometries we're still learning to read. Stretching across nearly 200 square miles of Peru's arid Nazca Desert, a series of colossal etchings in the earth defy easy explanation. These aren't mere scratches in the soil, they're intricate geoglyphs, some spanning over 1,000 feet, depicting animals, plants, and geometric shapes so massive they're only visible from the air. The precision is staggering. Straight lines run for miles without deviating, while curves mirror the fluidity of living creatures. Created between 500 BC and 500 CE by the Nazca people, the lines were made by removing reddish surface pebbles to reveal lighter soil beneath, a technique that's preserved them for centuries. But why would a culture with no known access to flight create art meant to be seen from above? One leading theory suggests the lines served as celestial roadmaps, aligning with solstices, star clusters, or the paths of sacred constellations. Certain glyphs, like the spider or hummingbird, may symbolize deities linked to water, a precious resource in the desert, while zigzag patterns could trace underground aquifers. Others argue the lines formed part of ritual processions where pilgrims walked them in trance-like ceremonies, their footsteps activating spiritual connections between earth and sky. Nearby, the ruins of Cahuachi and Nazca Ceremonial Center hint at a broader sacred landscape, with mounds and plazas that may have hosted gatherings tied to the glyph's symbolism. Then there's the more controversial idea: were the lines meant for gods or something else? The absence of vantage points fuels speculation about advanced knowledge, from hot air balloons to extraterrestrial communication. Yet the simplest explanation might be the most profound. The Nazca could have used rudimentary surveying tools like ropes and stakes, scaling up designs from smaller models. What's undeniable is the intent behind them. These weren't doodles, they were messages, prayers, or markers of identity etched into the land itself. Modern technology has revealed even deeper layers. Drones and satellite imagery uncovered hundreds of previously unknown glyphs, including humanoid figures and mythical beings, suggesting the desert holds far more secrets than we've uncovered. Erosion and human activity threaten the lines today, but their endurance speaks to something timeless. Whether astronomical calendars, ceremonial paths, or something beyond our grasp, the Nazca Lines remind us that meaning isn't always meant to be seen. Sometimes it's felt in the act of creation itself. Rising from the volcanic slopes of Easter Island, the Moai stand as silent guardians of a civilization pushed to its limits. These towering stone figures, some weighing over 80 tons, were carved from compressed volcanic ash with nothing but stone tools, then somehow transported miles across rugged terrain to their final positions along the coast. Their blank, heavy-lidded eyes stare past the horizon, as if watching for something or someone that never arrived, but the statues themselves are only part of the mystery. Each one was mounted on an ahu, a ceremonial platform built with precision-cut stones, often facing inland rather than outward to the sea. What rituals took place on these platforms? Were the Moai meant to honor ancestors, ward off threats, or mark territorial boundaries? The answers lie tangled in the island's tragic history, a cautionary tale of resource depletion and societal collapse. The how of the Moai's movement has long baffled researchers. Oral traditions speak of the statues walking to their ahu, a poetic clue that led to experiments with ropes and teams of people rocking the figures side to side, a method that could have moved them several hundred feet a day. Others theorize they were dragged atop log rollers, though the island's deforestation makes this unlikely. The most compelling evidence comes from the roads themselves, ancient pathways littered with broken Moai, suggesting transportation was a perilous, all-hands effort. Yet the why remains even murkier. The ahu platforms often held burials, leading many to believe the Moai were ancestral protectors, their backs to the ocean to watch over villages. Some statues bore red stone hats called pukau, symbols of status that required yet another Herculean effort to lift and place. Easter Island's collapse adds a haunting layer to the mystery. At its peak, the Rapa Nui society numbered in the thousands, with complex clans competing to erect ever larger Moai. But as resources dwindled, forests cleared for rollers, soil eroded by overfarming, the culture spiraled into conflict. Statues were toppled during wars, and by the time European explorers arrived, the island was a shadow of its former self. The platforms, once centers of ceremony, became bleak reminders of a vanishing world. What lingers isn't just the engineering marvel of the Moai, but the warning they silently carry. These weren't just art, they were manifestations of belief, identity, and ultimately hubris. The ahu platforms, now weathered by salt and wind, whisper of a society that poured its soul into stone, only to discover too late that no statue could save them from themselves. Beneath the turquoise waves off Japan's Yonaguni Island lies a structure so puzzling it blurs the line between nature and human hands. The Yonaguni Monument, discovered in the mid-80s by a diver searching for hammerhead sharks, resembles a sunken city carved with terraces, staircases, and what looks like a massive stone arch. The formations stretch over 260 feet, their edges sharp and angles precise, some rising nearly 80 feet from the ocean floor. But here's the twist: geologists clash fiercely over whether these are the work of ancient builders or simply the result of seismic activity sculpting sandstone over millennia. The debate isn't just academic. If human-made, Yonaguni could rewrite history, pointing to a lost civilization swallowed by rising seas thousands of years before recorded time. Diving deeper into the mystery, the monument's most striking feature is the terraced platform, a series of flat, stepped layers that look eerily like ceremonial architecture. Nearby, two towering pillars appear placed deliberately, their tops aligning to frame the sunrise during solstices, a detail that screams intentional design. Marine biologists point to marine erosion patterns, arguing that underwater currents and tectonic shifts could mimic artificial structures. Yet skeptics can't explain away the face, a 5-meter-tall rock bearing uncanny resemblance to a human profile, complete with what looks like an etched eye and mouth. Even more compelling are the tool marks reported by some researchers, straight grooves and right angles rare in natural formations. The cultural implications are staggering. If human hands shaped Yonaguni, who were these builders? Local legends speak of a sunken kingdom, while fringe theories tie it to Mu, a hypothetical Pacific counterpart to Atlantis. Mainstream archaeologists remain divided. Some dismiss it as wishful thinking, while others note that rising sea levels 12,000 years ago could have submerged coastal settlements worldwide. The truth may lie somewhere in between, a natural formation enhanced by human modification, perhaps a sacred site adapted from existing rock. Whatever the answer, Yonaguni stands as a haunting enigma, its secrets guarded by the very waters that hide it. What makes this underwater puzzle unforgettable isn't just the evidence, it's the way it forces us to question the boundaries of human history. Could an advanced culture have thrived here only to vanish beneath the waves? Without written records or artifacts, the monument's story remains half-told, a riddle wrapped in coral and time. Every dive into its shadowy recesses brings new questions, leaving us to wonder if we're staring at nature's artistry or the ruins of a world we've yet to fully remember. Rising from the savannah like a mirage of stone, the ruins of Great Zimbabwe stand as a testament to a civilization whose sophistication rivaled medieval Europe's mightiest kingdoms. This sprawling complex of dry stone walls, towers, and enclosures wasn't just a settlement, it was the heart of a vast trading empire that thrived between the 11th and 15th centuries, its influence stretching from the Swahili coast to the Arabian Peninsula. The scale alone is staggering. The great enclosure, with its 30-foot-high walls curving gracefully without mortar, remains the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara. But who built this city atop the Zimbabwe plateau, and why does its story survive only in whispers and artifacts? Archaeological clues paint a picture of staggering wealth and global connections. Excavations have uncovered Chinese porcelain, Persian glass, and Arab coins amid the ruins, evidence of a trade network funneling gold, ivory, and exotic hides to distant markets. The very name Zimbabwe derives from the Shona phrase Dizimba Mabwe, meaning houses of stone, a nod to the architectural prowess that set this kingdom apart. Yet the absence of written records leaves historians piecing together fragments. Portuguese explorers later dismissed the ruins as the work of biblical figures or mythical kingdoms, refusing to believe sub-Saharan Africans could engineer such marvels. Modern science has debunked those racist myths, but the silence of the builders themselves still echoes. Were their records lost to time, or did they rely solely on oral traditions? Theories about Great Zimbabwe's purpose intertwine like the patterns in its masonry. Some argue it was a royal palace, its conical tower serving as a granary or symbolic phallus celebrating fertility. Others see it as a religious center, its labyrinthine passages designed for initiation rites. The most compelling evidence points to a hybrid role, part political capital, part spiritual hub, where rulers mediated between earthly power and ancestral worlds. The site's strategic location supports this. Perched atop gold-rich hills, it controlled trade routes while remaining defensible. But the real mystery isn't just its rise, it's its fall. By the mid-15th century, the city emptied, its people scattering to smaller settlements. Drought, overpopulation, shifting trade winds, the stones won't say. What lingers is the realization that history isn't always written. Great Zimbabwe's legacy survives in the craftsmanship of its walls, the weight of its gold artifacts, the echoes of a society that shaped a continent's destiny without pen or parchment. Walking among its ruins today, you sense the ghosts of merchants haggling in courtyards, smelters turning ore into wealth, rulers gazing across a kingdom built not on words but on stone and ingenuity. Perhaps that's the most profound lesson, that a civilization's greatness isn't measured by what it leaves behind in ink, but in the indelible marks it carves into the earth itself. Scattered across the windswept Breton countryside in northwest France, the Karnak stones stand as one of the most bewildering prehistoric sights on Earth, a sprawling army of over 3,000 megaliths arranged in eerily precise rows stretching nearly 2.5 miles. Unlike the more familiar circles of Stonehenge, these stones march across the landscape in straight lines, some towering 12 feet high, others knee-high and weathered into stubby sentinels. The sheer scale is overwhelming: 11 converging rows at Meynek, 10 at Camario, 13 at Kaleskan, each alignment a silent procession frozen in time. Local legends claim they're Roman soldiers petrified by a sorcerer, but the truth is far stranger. Carbon dating places their origins around 4,500 BCE, making them contemporaries of Egypt's earliest pyramids, yet their purpose remains one of archaeology's most stubborn riddles. What could compel Neolithic people to erect such an elaborate stone grid? One compelling theory suggests the alignments functioned as a massive astronomical observatory. Certain rows point toward sunrise positions during solstices, while others align with the moon's extreme rising points. The stones might have served as a calendar, their shadows marking seasonal changes critical for agriculture. French researcher Pierre Merot proposed an even more startling idea. The granite megaliths resonate at frequencies that detect seismic activity, acting as an ancient earthquake warning system. Experiments show some stones vibrate at ultra-low frequencies when struck, possibly allowing early societies to sense distant tremors. Others argue the site was sacred, a ceremonial pathway where processions moved between stones, their placement mirroring celestial patterns or ancestral migration routes. Then there's the enigma of the Géant du Manio, a solitary 20-foot-tall monolith etched with serpentine carvings. Unlike the regimented rows nearby, this stone looms like a watchman, its surface swirling with symbols that might represent star maps or spiritual sigils. Nearby dolmen stone tombs add another layer, suggesting Karnak blended the practical and the mystical. The absence of tools or settlements near the site deepens the intrigue. This wasn't a place for the living, but perhaps a bridge between worlds. Modern technology has revealed hidden patterns. Ground surveys show some rows extend far beyond the visible stones, buried beneath centuries of soil. Yet with each discovery, Karnak resists easy answers. Were these stones territorial markers, ritual spaces, or Neolithic scientific instruments? The silence of the megaliths is deafening, their meaning locked in a language we've yet to decipher. Walking among them at dawn, as mist clings to the granite, you feel the weight of their mystery, a puzzle carved not just in stone but in the very landscape itself. Beneath the quiet streets of Paula, Malta, lies a labyrinth that defies time, the hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, a subterranean temple carved entirely from limestone over 5,000 years ago. This isn't just a burial site, it's a 3-level maze of chambers, stairways, and tombs, each layer descending deeper into darkness, each corridor whispering secrets of a forgotten culture. The air here hums with an eerie resonant sound, behaves unnaturally, bouncing off walls in ways that amplify whispers and distort echoes into haunting melodies. Archaeologists first stumbled upon this underworld in the early 20th century, uncovering thousands of skeletal remains alongside intricate carvings of spirals and red ochre paintings. But the bones and art only scratch the surface. The real mystery lies in how the hypogeum's architects manipulated sound, crafting spaces where acoustics weren't just an accident but a deliberate design. Step into the so-called oracle chamber, and you'll feel the vibrations before you hear them. Speak into a niche carved into the wall, and your voice reverberates through the entire chamber, low frequencies resonating like a drum. Some tones even trigger a phenomenon called standing waves, where sound seems to hang in the air, pulsating as if the room itself is alive. Researchers have tested these frequencies, discovering that they fall within the range known to alter brain activity, potentially inducing trance-like states or heightened awareness. Were the hypogeum's creators sound engineers of the ancient world, using architecture as a tool for ritual or healing? The theory gains traction when you consider the small, statue-like figures found here, their exaggerated ears and tilted heads as if eternally listening. Could they represent deities or participants in sonic ceremonies? Then there's the unsettling Holy of Holies, a room bathed in red ochre, its ceiling carved to mimic the corbelled arches of above-ground temples. This space feels sacred, almost theatrical, with a recessed floor that some believe held water for reflective ceremonies, but the most spine-tingling detail. Chant or hum at a specific pitch, and the sound amplifies unnaturally, as if the walls are singing back to you. Modern acousticians have mapped these effects, concluding that the hypogeum's builders must have possessed an intuitive grasp of sound physics. Yet no records survive to explain their knowledge. Some speculate they inherited techniques from an even older culture, while others suggest trial and error over generations fine-tuned these sonic chambers. The hypogeum's duality, tomb and temple, complicates the puzzle. While its lower levels clearly held human remains, the upper chambers lack burial evidence, their layouts suggesting communal gatherings or performances. Carbon dating reveals the site was used for over a millennium, hinting at evolving purposes across centuries. Perhaps early generations revered it as a gateway to the afterlife, while later visitors harnessed its acoustics for spiritual or medicinal rituals. Local folklore adds another layer, speaking of sleeping priestesses who could commune with deities through vibrations, a chilling parallel to the trance-inducing frequencies science has measured. What lingers today isn't just the enigma of its use, but the urgency of its preservation. Humidity from visitors' breath once threatened the ochre paintings, prompting strict limits on access. Now, only a handful of people enter each day, their footsteps hushed, their voices testing the same tones that might have once summoned gods. The hypogeum refuses to surrender its secrets, standing as both a monument to human ingenuity and a reminder of how much we've yet to learn. To walk its passages is to feel the weight of those unanswered questions, pulsing in the dark like the echoes of a chant no one alive can still understand. Hidden beneath the quiet farmland of Zhejiang province in China lies an underground world so vast and meticulously carved that it challenges our understanding of ancient engineering, the Longyu Caves. Discovered by accident in 1992 when a local farmer drained a pond, these caverns aren't natural formations but a network of gigantic, hand-excavated chambers stretching across 30,000 square meters. The scale is staggering. 24 caves have been uncovered so far, some reaching heights of 30 meters, with ceilings, walls, and pillars so precisely angled they form perfect geometric patterns. Every surface bears the unmistakable marks of chisels, millions of deliberate strokes that transformed solid sandstone into a subterranean marvel. Yet despite their obvious sophistication, no historical records mention their construction, and no tools or debris from the excavation have ever been found. Who carved these caverns, and why would they pour such effort into a project meant to stay hidden beneath the earth? Walking through the caves feels like stepping into a forgotten cathedral. The walls ripple with parallel grooves, a signature of the builder's technique, while massive pillars line the chambers like the ribs of some great stone beast. The engineering is alarmingly advanced. Pillars are positioned to distribute weight evenly, preventing collapse, while inclines and drainage channels suggest an understanding of hydraulics. Even more perplexing are the carvings, fish, birds, and mythical beasts etched into the rock, their meanings lost to time. Some researchers argue the caves align with celestial events, their layouts mirroring constellations or solstice angles. Others point to traces of pigments, hinting that these caverns might once have been ablaze with color, transforming them into luminous underground sanctuaries. Then there's the eerie acoustics. Certain chambers amplify sound in ways that suggest ritual or performance, much like Malta's hypogeum. Theories about the cave's purpose range from practical to fantastical. Were they royal tombs hiding emperors' treasures, military bunkers for an ancient dynasty's secret operations? The lack of artifacts or human remains rules out most conventional explanations. Local legends speak of a vanished civilization that retreated underground, while fringe historians speculate about connections to lost technologies or even pre-flood cultures. The most plausible explanation ties the caves to quarrying, but why carve such elaborate, decorated spaces just to extract stone, and why abandon them without a trace? What lingers isn't just the mystery of their origin, but the sheer audacity of their creation. The Longyu Caves represent an investment of labor so immense, an estimated 1 million worker-days, that they must have held profound significance. Yet their silence is deafening. No inscriptions, no tools, no whispers in ancient texts, just these hollowed-out halls waiting for someone to decipher their story. Standing in their shadow, you can't help but wonder, were they meant to be found at all, or did their builders intend their secrets to stay buried forever? Towering over Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, the Temple of Baalbek doesn't just dominate the landscape, it defies it. This monumental Roman complex, dedicated to Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus, boasts some of the largest stone blocks ever carved by human hands. But the real wonder lies beneath the grand columns and ornate friezes, a platform of foundation stones so enormous their size borders on incomprehensible. The trilithon, a trio of limestone blocks at the base of the temple, each weighs an estimated 800 tons, equivalent to 2 fully loaded jumbo jets. Even more mind-bending is the nearby Stone of the Pregnant Woman, an unfinished monolith lying in a quarry half a mile away, tipping the scales at nearly 1,200 tons. How did anyone, Roman engineers or otherwise, move these megaliths without modern machinery? The Romans were master builders, but these stones predate their arrival by centuries, if not millennia, sparking fierce debate over who truly laid the first stones at Baalbek. The architectural fingerprints left behind only deepen the puzzle. The podium's lower layers show precision cutting and fitting techniques far cruder than the refined Roman work above, suggesting an older, possibly lost civilization handled the heavy lifting literally. Local legends speak of a race of giants or a mythical pre-flood society with superhuman strength, while archaeologists point to the Phoenicians who revered Baalbek as a holy site long before Rome's conquest. Some researchers note the foundation's resemblance to other megalithic sites like Peru's Sacsayhuamán, with its interlocking, earthquake-resistant joints. Could there have been a global blueprint for megalithic construction shared across oceans and eras? Then there's the question of purpose. Why go to such Herculean efforts? The Romans repurposed Baalbek as a testament to imperial might, but the original builders left no inscriptions or records. Some theorize the site aligned with celestial events, its orientation capturing solstice sunrises, or served as a nexus for ancient energy rituals given the region's magnetic anomalies. Others propose it was a trading hub, its sheer scale meant to awe visitors into submission. The truth may lie in layers, a sacred site for one culture, a political statement for another, each adding meaning to the stones without erasing the past. What lingers today isn't just the engineering marvel, but the lingering sense of discontinuity. Baalbek's grandeur feels borrowed, its origins stretching back into a past we can't quite reach. Walking among its columns, you're left with the uneasy realization that some secrets aren't just hidden, they're buried beneath the weight of time itself, waiting for a clue we've yet to uncover. The biblical Tower of Babel isn't just a cautionary tale about human arrogance. It may have roots in the very real, awe-inspiring ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia. These massive stepped pyramids, some towering nearly 300 feet high, were more than just architectural marvels. They were bridges between Earth and the divine. Picture the Great Ziggurat of its mud brick terraces painted gleaming white, its summit crowned with a temple shimmering in the desert sun. To the people of Mesopotamia, climbing its staircases wasn't just a physical journey, it was a spiritual ascent, bringing them closer to the gods who governed their world. Could these structures have inspired the myth of a tower so tall it threatened heaven itself? The parallels are striking. Both stories speak of human ambition reaching skyward, and both end with divine intervention scattering people and confounding language. Archaeology offers tantalizing clues. Ziggurats like Etemenanki in Babylon, possibly the actual prototype for the Babel story, were reconstructed multiple times by kings boasting of their piety and power. Cuneiform tablets describe these projects as cosmic undertakings, with workers hauled in from across the empire speaking a cacophony of tongues. Sound familiar? The biblical narrative might preserve a folk memory of these multinational workforces and the linguistic diversity they embodied, but the ziggurate's true purpose went beyond royal vanity. Each level represented a different plane of existence, from the earthly to the celestial. Rituals performed atop these structures were believed to sustain cosmic order, literally keeping the world in balance. Yet the Tower of Babel myth twists this sacred ambition into a warning. Where ziggurats celebrated humanity's connection to the gods, the biblical tale frames such aspirations as defiance. It's a cultural echo of Mesopotamia's rival, ancient Israel, rejecting the grandeur of empires that once enslaved them. The ziggurats still stand in ruins today, their stairways crumbling, their temples long silent. But their legacy lingers in the enduring power of a story that asks, how high is too high? Whether seen as monuments to faith or folly, these ancient towers remind us that some boundaries between earth and sky, human and divine, are meant to be respected, not crossed. In the quiet town of Homestead, Florida, a bizarre and beautiful monument stands as a testament to one man's obsession, and perhaps his access to secrets lost to time. The Coral Castle, built entirely by a single Latvian immigrant named Edward Līdzkalnis, defies every conventional explanation. Between 1923 and 1951, using nothing but handmade tools and sheer determination, Līdzkalnis carved and moved over 1,100 tons of coral rock, shaping it into towering walls, massive tables, and even a functioning sundial, all with precision that stumps engineers to this day. The most baffling part, he worked almost entirely alone, often at night, and refused to let anyone witness his methods. When asked how he managed such feats, he'd only smile and say, "I understand the laws of weight and leverage." But the laws of physics as we know them can't fully account for what he achieved. Take the infamous 9-ton gate, a massive slab of stone so perfectly balanced a child could push it open with a single finger. When engineers finally disassembled it for repairs in the 1980s, they discovered no hinges, no bearings, just a metal rod resting on an old truck gear. Yet for decades it rotated smoothly, aligning with celestial events like the summer solstice. Then there's the 30-foot-tall obelisk cut from a single block and weighing nearly 28 tons. How did a man barely 5 feet tall and 100 pounds, with no formal education, quarry, lift, and position these monoliths without machinery? Witnesses reported seeing him work with nothing more than a tripod of logs and chains, yet even modern physics struggles to explain how such rudimentary tools could handle that weight. Līdzkalnis claimed to have rediscovered the building secrets of the ancient pyramids, hinting at knowledge of anti-gravity or magnetic levitation. Skeptics argue he must have used clever tricks, counterweights, pulleys, or patience beyond imagination, but no one's ever replicated his process. Theories swirl like the Florida humidity around Coral Castle. Some believe Līdzkalnis tapped into Earth's natural energy lines, using vibrational frequencies to soften stone. Others point to his cryptic writings about perpetual motion holders and cosmic magnetism, suggesting he'd unlocked forgotten science. Then there's the tragic backstory. He built the entire complex as a monument to lost love, dedicating it to a fiancée who left him at the altar in Latvia. Was his heartbreak the catalyst for superhuman focus, or did it drive him to seek esoteric knowledge? Modern researchers have tried X-raying the stones, searching for hidden mechanisms, but the castle guards its secrets as fiercely as Leedskalnin did. Walking through Coral Castle today, you're struck by the eerie harmony of it all: the rocking chairs carved from solid rock, the Polaris telescope perfectly aligned with the North Star, the crescent moon pool reflecting the sky. It feels less like a construction project and more like an alchemist's workshop where stone obeyed some unseen force. Whether Leedskalnin possessed arcane wisdom or simply an otherworldly knack for physics, his legacy lingers in every coral block, whispering that maybe, just maybe, there are ways of moving mountains we've yet to relearn. Rising from the rugged hills of Rajasthan, the ruins of Bangar Fort loom like a warning etched in stone. Its crumbling palaces and shattered temples are steeped in legends so chilling. India's Archaeological Survey has forbidden visitors after sunset, an official decree that only fuels its reputation as the country's most haunted site. But beneath the ghost stories lies a far more intriguing mystery. Was this 17th century complex merely a royal stronghold, or did its architects embed hidden knowledge into its very foundations? The fort's curse originates in local lore, a tale of forbidden love and supernatural vengeance. According to legend, a wizard named Singhia fell for the beautiful Princess Ratnavati, casting a spell on her perfume to bewitch her. When she uncovered his plot, she smashed the tainted vial against a boulder, which then rolled downhill, crushing the sorcerer. With his dying breath, he cursed Bangar, dooming its inhabitants to death and eternal unrest. Records confirm the fort was abandoned abruptly in the 1700s, its courtyards emptied and palaces left to decay. Skeptics blame invading Mughal armies or failing water supplies, yet no signs of battle or drought explain the exodus. The eerie symmetry of its ruins feeds the enigma gateways and staircases align with celestial events, while certain corridors amplify whispers into disembodied echoes. Modern researchers note something stranger still. The fort's layout mirrors ancient Vedic principles of sacred geometry. Its central axis aligns with the rising sun during equinoxes, bathing the main temple in golden light, a feature seen in solar temples across India. Some chambers resonate at frequencies that induce disorientation, their arched doorways funneling wind into low, moaning tones. Could these have been deliberate acoustic manipulations designed for rituals or to disorient invaders? Even the curse takes on new dimensions when examined through tantric traditions, which speak of yantras, geometric diagrams capable of trapping energy. A peculiar carving near the fort's eastern wall matches these designs, leading some to speculate Bangar was less a fortress than a locked vessel for esoteric practices gone awry. By daylight, the ruins reveal another layer. Their construction defies typical Mughal-era military architecture. The fort lacks outer defenses, its walls too thin to repel cannon fire, while its inner sanctums feature ornate carvings of celestial beings and planetary alignments. Local historians point to Guru Balu Nath, an ascetic who supposedly permitted the fort's construction only if its shadow never touched his meditation site. When a successor ignored this warning, the curse allegedly activated. This blend of astronomy, spirituality, and cautionary myth suggests Bangar was never meant to be a mere palace but a threshold between realms. Today, whether you believe in curses or cosmic blueprints, the fort's silence speaks volumes. Vibrations measured in its courtyards show abnormal energy fluctuations, and infrared cameras capture unexplained cold spots, phenomena science can't yet dismiss. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between legend and lost knowledge, in a time when buildings weren't just shelters but living conduits between the seen and unseen. Bangar's stones don't whisper answers, they hum with questions no archaeologist or ghost hunter has fully decoded. Rising from a quiet field in rural Georgia, the guidestone stood like a modern-day Rosetta Stone. 6 towering slabs of granite, each inscribed with cryptic messages in 8 languages, their words a mix of environmental warnings and cryptic directives for rebuilding civilization. Erected in 1980 under the pseudonym R.C. Christian, the monument bore no trace of its true architects, only a small marker crediting a small group of loyal Americans who wished to remain anonymous. The stone's 10 guidelines ranged from practical, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, to eerily prescient like the call to guide reproduction wisely, hinting at eugenics. But the real mystery wasn't just the messages, it was the precision with which they were embedded into the landscape. The central pillar featured a hole aligned with the North Star, while slots in the capstone marked solstices and equinoxes, transforming the structure into a working astronomical calendar. Who designed this and why go to such lengths to hide their identity? Theories about the guidestone's origins spiraled from the plausible to the paranoid. Some linked R.C. Christian to Rosicrucian secret societies, pointing to coded numerology in the stone's dimensions. Others saw the hand of Cold War-era survivalists preparing a manifesto for post-apocalyptic governance. The most chilling interpretation painted the monument as a blueprint for global depopulation. Its call for a drastically reduced human population fueling conspiracy theories about shadowy elites. Yet local contractors who worked on the project recalled nothing sinister, just a well-dressed man who paid in cash, insisting on absolute secrecy. The stone's alignment with celestial events suggested deeper esoteric knowledge, while their multilingual inscriptions implied a target audience far beyond rural Georgia. Were they meant as a time capsule, a warning, or something more ominous? Controversy dogged the guidestones for decades, culminating in their explosive demolition in 2022. Just after dawn on July 6th, a bomb reduced the monument to rubble, an act claimed by no group, leaving only charred fragments and a void where the mystery once stood. Authorities never identified the bombers, though online chatter swirled with theories ranging from anti-globalist militants to factions who believed the stone's removal would thwart their dark prophecy. The timing was uncanny. The demolition came months after local officials, citing vandalism and protests, had voted to dismantle the structure. Had someone decided to expedite the process? What lingers isn't just the question of who built the guidestones, but why their destruction felt so inevitable. In an era of polarized conspiracy theories, the monument became a Rorschach test, hopeful to some as a vision of sustainability, to others a harbinger of tyranny. The stone's physical absence now amplifies their myth, their directives echoing louder in fragments than they ever did whole. Perhaps that was always the point, not to provide answers, but to provoke questions about who gets to shape the future and whose voices are carved in stone or erased from it. Scattered across the rolling hills of northern Laos, the Plain of Jars presents a sight both mesmerizing and haunting. Thousands of ancient stone vessels, some as tall as 9 feet, their origins shrouded in the mists of time. These aren't ordinary containers. Each one was painstakingly carved from solid rock, their shapes ranging from cylindrical to angular, their surfaces smoothed by centuries of wind and rain. Dating back over 2,000 years to the Iron Age, the jars lie clustered in groups of a few dozen to several hundred, spread across more than 90 sites. But who crafted these enigmatic vessels, and why leave them scattered across the landscape like fragments of a forgotten ritual? The most widely accepted theory ties the jars to funeral rites. Excavations have uncovered human remains, burial goods, and ceramic artifacts buried beneath and around them, suggesting they served as either sarcophagi or vessels for secondary burials, where bones were placed after the body decomposed. Some researchers propose the jars held cremated ashes, their wide openings allowing mourners to add offerings or participate in ceremonies. Local legends echo this idea, speaking of a mythical race of giants who used the jars to brew rice wine for victory celebrations. Yet the truth may be even more complex. Recent discoveries revealed underground burial chambers near some jar sites, hinting at a multi-stage funerary process where the jars played one role in a broader spiritual journey. Beyond their funerary purpose, the jars' placement tells another story. Many sites sit along ancient trade routes linking Southeast Asia to China and India, suggesting the civilization that built them was a hub of commerce and cultural exchange. Chemical analysis of pottery found nearby reveals traces of exotic goods like carnelian and glass beads materials sourced from distant regions. Could the jars have doubled as markers or storage units for traders, their imposing presence signaling safe passage or territorial claims? The overlap between burial and trade complicates the narrative, painting a picture of a society where death and commerce were deeply intertwined. Then there's the lingering enigma of their construction. How did laborers, using only rudimentary tools, quarry and transport these massive stones? Some jars weigh several tons, yet the nearest quarries are miles away. Tests show the stone matches local sandstone, but the logistics of moving them across rivers, up hills remain baffling. Even more puzzling are the stone discs found nearby, some carved with human or animal figures. Were they lids, territorial markers, or ritual objects? The answers might lie in unexploded bombs littering the region left over from the Vietnam War, which have made large-scale archaeological work perilous. Standing among the jars today, you sense their silent pull, not just as relics of the dead, but as monuments to a culture that thrived at the crossroads of empires. Their makers left no written records, only these hollow sentinels waiting for someone to piece together their story. Until then, the plain of jars remains a testament to the mysteries that still ripple through time, refusing to be buried. Beneath the waves off the coast of modern-day Gujarat, India, lie the crumbling remnants of what some believe to be the legendary city of Dwarka, a place once thought to exist only in sacred Hindu texts. According to the Mahabharata, Dwarka was a glittering metropolis built by Lord Krishna himself, its towering gates and golden palaces a testament to divine power. But when Krishna departed the earth, the scriptures say the sea swallowed the city whole, leaving only stories in its wake. Fast forward to the late 20th century, when marine archaeologists began uncovering stone structures, pottery, and artifacts submerged in the Gulf of Combat, structures eerily aligned with the ancient descriptions. The discovery ignited a firestorm of debate. Were these ruins evidence of a sophisticated prehistoric civilization, or merely the scattered remains of a later settlement reshaped by myth? Diving into Dwarka's underwater ruins feels like stepping into a blurred boundary between science and scripture. The site's most striking feature is a series of geometric stone walls, some extending over half a mile, their blocks fitted together without mortar, a technique echoing other ancient megalithic sites worldwide. Among the debris, researchers recovered anchors, pottery shards, and even a stone slab inscribed with symbols resembling the Indus Valley script. Carbon dating of artifacts has yielded wildly contested results, with some tests suggesting an age of up to 9,000 years, far older than mainstream historians believe urban civilization existed in the region. Skeptics argue these dates could be skewed by ocean currents carrying older organic material, while proponents point to geological evidence of a catastrophic flood around 1500 BCE, which aligns roughly with the Mahabharata's timeline for Dwarka's demise. The controversy deepens when you consider the cultural weight of the discovery. For many Hindus, Dwarka's potential validation isn't just academic, it's spiritual. The city's description in the Puranas as a circular fortress with radial streets and advanced engineering hints at a lost golden age, a narrative that clashes with traditional Western historiography's linear progression from simple to complex societies. Marine archaeologist Dr. S.R. Rao, who led early expeditions, argued the site's layout matches ancient texts with uncanny precision, down to the presence of a submerged river channel matching the mythical Göbekli. Yet critics counter that wishful thinking might be connecting dots where none exist, noting that natural formations can mimic human construction. Then there's the ocean itself, both collaborator and destroyer. The same waters that preserved Dwarka stones for millennia now threaten them with erosion and looting. Salvage operations have recovered intricately carved pillars and jewelry, but much of the site remains unexplored due to strong currents and murky visibility. Cutting-edge sonar mapping has revealed even larger structures farther out to sea, suggesting Dwarka, if it truly is Dwarka, might be just one piece of a vast submerged network. Some theorists propose a connection to the lost Qumri kingdom, a supposed Tamil civilization swallowed by the Indian Ocean, while geologists point to prehistoric sea level rise that could have drowned multiple coastal cities. What makes Dwarka unforgettable isn't just the clash of science and legend, but the unresolved tension between what we can prove and what we feel. Standing on the shore today, watching fishermen cast nets over the same waters that hide those ancient walls, you're left with a haunting question. How many other legendary cities lie beneath the waves, waiting for their stories to resurface? Whether Dwarka is Krishna's celestial capital or a mundane port lost to time, its ruins remind us that the sea keeps secrets no textbook can fully explain. Imagine a palace of corridors so vast, so bewildering, that even the builders feared getting lost within its own walls. This wasn't just a legend, it was the labyrinth of Hawara, a sprawling complex in ancient Egypt that the Greek historian Herodotus claimed rivaled the pyramids in grandeur. Writing in the 5th century BCE, he described a labyrinth of 3,000 rooms, half underground and half above. Its walls covered in intricate carvings, its passages designed to disorient even the most determined visitor. For centuries, scholars dismissed his account as exaggeration until modern technology revealed tantalizing hints that this fabled maze might have been very real. The labyrinth's proposed location lies near the Hawara Pyramid, built by Pharaoh Amenemhat III during Egypt's Middle Kingdom. Unlike the pyramids which served as tombs, the labyrinth's purpose remains hotly debated. Some argue it was a colossal administrative hub, a bureaucratic nerve center where scribes managed the kingdom's vast grain stores and tax records. Others believe it functioned as a sacred initiation site, where priests guided seekers through twisting corridors meant to symbolize the journey into the afterlife. The few surviving fragments of its layout described by later historians like Strabo mention halls dedicated to each of Egypt's 42 regional deities, suggesting a spiritual dimension far beyond mere storage. Modern searches for the labyrinth have been as twisty as the structure itself. In the late 19th century, British archaeologist Flinders Petrie uncovered massive foundations near Hawara blocks so large they hinted at a building of unprecedented scale. Ground-penetrating radar scans in the early 2000s revealed grid-like patterns beneath the sand, matching descriptions of interconnected chambers. Yet the site remains frustratingly elusive, its potential ruins buried under centuries of silt and seasonal flooding from the nearby Nile. One theory suggests the labyrinth was deliberately dismantled, its stones repurposed for later Roman construction, leaving only echoes in the historical record. What's most tantalizing isn't just the labyrinth's physical remains, but what its existence would imply about ancient Egyptian society. A structure of that scale would have required coordination surpassing even the pyramid's thousands of laborers, architects, and priests working in unison. Its potential dual role as both warehouse and temple blurs the line between practicality and spirituality, suggesting a civilization that saw no divide between the earthly and the divine. Herodotus wrote that the labyrinth surpassed the pyramids in ambition, yet today it's the pyramids that dominate our imagination. Perhaps that's the labyrinth's final trick, remaining just out of reach, ensuring its mysteries endure long after its walls have crumbled into dust. Beneath the jungles of Vietnam, a hidden city of tunnels stretches for hundreds of miles, a subterranean labyrinth that became the Viet Cong's greatest weapon during the war. The Cu Kai tunnels aren't just cramped passageways, they're an entire underground ecosystem with living quarters, hospitals, weapon workshops, and even theaters carved into the earth. At their peak, this network housed thousands of soldiers, complete with disguised trapdoors and ventilation shafts so cleverly concealed that American troops would walk right over them without a clue. But what's truly unsettling isn't just the ingenuity of these tunnels. It's the growing evidence that parts of this network predate the Vietnam conflict by centuries, hinting at layers of history buried long before the first bullet was fired. During the war, the tunnels became a nightmare for U.S. forces. Imagine searching for an enemy that could vanish into the ground, only to reappear behind your lines. Soldiers recounted stories of encountering booby-trapped entries, spike pits smeared with poison, and narrow tunnels too small for most Americans to enter. The Viet Cong survived for years in these claustrophobic chambers, filtering smoke from cooking fires through distant termite mounds to avoid detection. Yet the most baffling discoveries came when archaeologists began studying sections untouched by modern warfare. Deep beneath the newer tunnels, they uncovered brick-lined passages and collapsed chambers with construction techniques unlike anything used by 20th-century guerrillas. Carbon dating revealed some shafts were dug as early as the 15th century, possibly by rebels resisting Chinese occupation or even older civilizations seeking refuge from invading armies. Local legends speak of the tunnels as a black vein running beneath the land, a place where spirits of the dead mingled with the living. Older villagers still whisper about ancestors who expanded the tunnels during the Tay Son Rebellion in the 1700s, using them to store weapons and rice. But the oldest layers, with their smoothed walls and peculiar symbols etched into the stone, defy easy explanation. Some researchers propose connections to the ancient Cham people, who once ruled central Vietnam and were known for their underground water systems. Others point to geological oddities, natural cavities widened by human hands over generations, repurposed by each new wave of resistance. What haunts historians isn't just the tunnel's military brilliance, but their eerie continuity. For centuries, this underground network has served as a last resort for the desperate, a place where revolutions were planned in darkness and where the line between history and myth blurs. Today, visitors can crawl through widened sections, their flashlights illuminating graffiti left by Viet Cong soldiers. But the older tunnels remain sealed, their builders' identities lost to time. The soil of Cu Kai holds more than shrapnel and bullet casings. It cradles the echoes of everyone who ever dug, fought, or hid in its depths, their stories still waiting to be unearthed. In the quiet farmlands of eastern Germany, a simple ring of wooden posts emerges from the earth, a structure so precise it unlocks the celestial secrets of Neolithic Europe. The Göbekli Circle, discovered in 1991 by aerial surveyors who spotted its telltale circular imprint in a wheat field, predates Stonehenge by nearly 2,000 years. Built around 4,900 BC, this ancient solar observatory consists of 4 concentric rings, a palisade wall, 2 timber rings with narrow gateways, and an inner ditch, all meticulously aligned to capture the winter solstice sunrise and sunset. Step inside its reconstructed wooden gates today, and you'll stand where Europe's first astronomers once did, tracking the sun's rebirth at the year's darkest hour. But the Göbekli Circle isn't just a calendar, it's a window into a worldview where sky and earth were intimately entwined. The precision of the circle's alignment still stuns researchers. During the winter solstice, sunlight streams through the southern gates at dawn and the northern gates at dusk, framing the sun's lowest arc in the sky with near mathematical accuracy. This wasn't guesswork. It required generations of observation, a slow accumulation of knowledge passed down through oral tradition. Archaeologists found pottery fragments marked with crescent shapes nearby, suggesting the builders also tracked lunar cycles, tying agricultural rhythms to celestial patterns. The site's gates don't just mark solstices, they create a geometric division of the year, slicing the horizon into segments that would have guided planting, harvest, and ritual. Imagine the scene, a community gathering at dawn, watching the sun's rays pierce the timber posts like a key fitting into a lock, confirming the universe still turned in predictable harmony. Yet the Göbekli Circle's purpose likely stretched beyond practicality. Excavations uncovered human bones, some bearing cut marks, and animal sacrifices near the central ditch, hinting at ceremonies where astronomy and spirituality merged. One theory suggests the circle was a cosmological theater, where rituals reenacted the sun's journey through the underworld, ensuring its return. The alignment with solstices mirrors later European monuments like Newgrange, hinting at a shared cultural fascination with solar rebirth. But Göbekliy's simplicity sets it apart. No towering stones, no intricate carvings, just raw wood and earth orchestrated with profound intentionality. What lingers most isn't just the engineering, but the implication that Neolithic societies were far more interconnected than we thought. Similar circles dot Central Europe from the Czech Republic to Austria, suggesting a sprawling network of astronomical sites. Were they built by a single culture with traveling astronomer priests, or did separate communities independently arrive at the same celestial insight? The answer might lie in the stars themselves, a universal teacher whose lessons spanned continents and epochs. Today, as the solstice light spills through Göbekliy's gates once more, we're reminded that some truths endure beyond time. The human need to measure, to worship, and to find meaning in the turning of the heavens. Carved from solid basalt and weighing up to 50 tons, the Olmec colossal heads stare across the Mexican jungle with an expression that feels almost alive. Heavy brows shadowing wide, watchful eyes, lips slightly parted as if frozen mid-speech. These 17 known sculptures, scattered across sites like La Venta and San Lorenzo, are unlike anything else left behind by Mesoamerica's oldest major civilization. Dating back over 3,000 years, each head bears distinct facial features, some adorned with intricately carved helmets, others with ear ornaments or scar-like grooves, leading many scholars to believe they depict actual rulers or warriors. But here's the twist: the Olmecs, often called the mother culture of the Americas, left behind no pyramids, no grand plazas, nothing to match the scale of these haunting visages. Why invest such staggering effort into portraits alone? Transporting these monoliths was a feat verging on the impossible. The basalt came from the Tuxtla Mountains, quarried using stone tools and dragged or floated over 50 miles through swamps and rugged terrain. Researchers have tried replicating the process with ropes, sledges, and log rollers, but even with modern ingenuity, moving a single head requires dozens of people and days of backbreaking labor. The Olmecs left no records explaining their methods, no glyphs, no manuals, just the heads themselves, their surfaces pockmarked by the tools that shaped them. Some theories suggest they used rafts during seasonal floods, riding swollen rivers like ancient conveyor belts. Others propose the heads were rolled atop ball bearings made from hardened resin, a technique hinted at by circular depressions found near quarries. Whatever the method, the logistics reveal a society capable of mobilizing labor on a scale rivaling Egypt's pyramid builders, yet unlike the pharaohs, the Olmecs seemingly directed this energy toward art rather than tombs or temples. Their purpose remains one of archaeology's most tantalizing riddles. The heads were often arranged in lines or groups, some buried deliberately, others toppled and defaced. At La Venta, 4 heads encircle a ceremonial plaza, their gazes fixed inward as if guarding or judging whoever stood at the center. The helmets on several sculptures resemble those worn by Mesoamerican ball players, linking them to the sacred sport that symbolized cosmic battles between life and death. Were these monuments to deified kings, victorious athletes, or even defeated enemies? The variation in facial features, some broad and flat-nosed, others thin-lipped with almond eyes, has sparked debate about the Olmec's own diversity. Could they represent a melting pot of ethnicities, or were the differences purely artistic? What's most haunting is the civilization's disappearance. By the time the Maya and Aztec rose to power, the Olmecs had vanished, their cities swallowed by jungle. The heads outlived their creators by millennia, their silent stares preserving a legacy without words. Unlike later Mesoamerican cultures, the Olmecs left no codices, no king lists, just these stone faces, their expressions hovering between defiance and resignation. Walking among them today, you sense the weight of that absence, a people who carved their identity into the earth, then stepped back into the shadows, leaving only their giants to speak for them. Stretching across the high-altitude deserts of western Bolivia, the Sacsayhuamán lines weave an intricate spiderweb of paths so vast they're best seen from the air, thousands of perfectly straight tracks etched into the earth, some running uninterrupted for over 12 miles. Unlike the famous animal glyphs of Peru's Nazca Plains, these lines form a geometric masterpiece, crisscrossing the foothills of Nevado Sacsayhuamán, Bolivia's tallest peak, in a grid so precise it feels almost algorithmic. Created by the indigenous Aymara people centuries ago, perhaps as early as 3,000 years, the lines cover an astonishing area of nearly 8,000 square miles, roughly the size of New Jersey. Yet despite their staggering scale, they remain one of the least understood wonders of the ancient world. Were they sacred pathways for pilgrims, cosmic maps aligned with the stars, or something far more practical hiding in plain sight? The sheer labor behind the Sacsayhuamán lines defies belief. Each path was cleared of vegetation and darkened by compacted soil, creating stark contrasts against the pale desert floor. Researchers estimate their total length exceeds 10,000 miles, enough to stretch from New York to Sydney and back. Unlike the Nazca Lines, which were likely ceremonial, the Sacsayhuamán network may have served dual purposes. One compelling theory suggests they functioned as pilgrimage routes, guiding worshippers to sacred sites around the volcano. The lines radiate outward like spokes on a wheel, many converging at ancient shrines or burial towers called chulpas, where offerings of pottery and llama bones have been found. Others point to celestial connections. Certain paths align with solstice sunrises or the positions of constellations revered by the Aymara, like the Southern Cross. But perhaps the most striking feature is their resemblance to modern road systems. Some archaeologists argue the lines were part of a sprawling trade network, their straight paths allowing swift movement of goods and messengers across the rugged terrain, a prehistoric highway built without the wheel. The mystery deepens when you consider how these lines were engineered. Without compasses or aerial views, the Aymara achieved near-flawless straightness over miles, using methods still debated today. One technique might have involved sighting distant mountain peaks as guideposts, while others propose they stretched ropes between stakes to maintain alignment. The line's endurance is another marvel. Centuries of wind and rain have failed to erase them, thanks to the hard-packed soil and the region's arid climate. Yet for all their resilience, the lines carry an air of fragility. Unlike stone monuments, they exist only as negative space, their meaning preserved solely by tradition and the care of generations. Modern roads and mining threaten some sections, a reminder that these ancient marks are as fleeting as the cultures that made them. What lingers isn't just the engineering feat, but the question of why such effort was devoted to something so transient. The Nazca Lines famously depict animals and gods, their symbolism clear even if their rituals aren't. The Sacsayhuamán lines, by contrast, are abstraction incarnate, pure geometry without obvious narrative. Perhaps that's the point. In a landscape where the sky meets the earth in razor-sharp horizons, where volcanoes tower like deities, the lines might have been a way to impose order on chaos, to connect the mundane to the divine. Or maybe they were simply the Aymara's way of saying, we were here, walking these paths today, your boots kicking up dust that hasn't settled in millennia. You feel the weight of that presence not in grand temples or towering statues, but in the quiet insistence of 1,000 lines saying, look closer. There's more to see. From the celestial alignments of Göbekli Tepe to the underwater enigmas of Yonaguni, these 25 mysterious structures stand as silent witnesses to humanity's relentless drive to build, explore, and question. Each site carries the echoes of civilizations long vanished, their purposes obscured by time yet pulsating with possibilities. Whether it's the haunting solitude of Bangar Fort, the engineered marvel of Coral Castle, or the sprawling subterranean network of Derinkuyu, these places share one undeniable truth: they were crafted with intention, care, and a depth of knowledge that still leaves us grasping for answers. What binds them together isn't just their age or craftsmanship, but the way they challenge our assumptions about the past. The Olmec colossal heads force us to reconsider the priorities of ancient societies, while the Georgia guidestones blur the line between prophecy and manifesto. The Longyu Caves and the Hypogeum of Halsafliani remind us that some of humanity's greatest achievements were designed to be hidden, their brilliance tucked away beneath the earth or behind layers of myth. And sites like the Plain of Jars and the Sacsayhuamán Lines prove that even the simplest structures can carry the weight of centuries, their meanings locked in the land itself. These buildings aren't just relics, they're invitations to wonder, to debate, and to recognize that history is far stranger than textbooks suggest. Every unexplained corridor, every celestial alignment, every carefully balanced stone whispers the same question: what do you think we were meant for? The theories are as diverse as the sites themselves: temples, tombs, observatories, or even messages to gods or future civilizations. But perhaps the real magic lies in the not knowing, in the space these mysteries leave for imagination and discovery. Now it's your turn. Which of these sites captured your imagination the most? Do you have a theory about the purpose behind Derinkuyu's tunnels or the Nazca Lines' celestial connections? Maybe you've visited one of these places and felt the weight of their secrets firsthand. Or perhaps there's another enigmatic structure we didn't cover, a hidden gem shrouded in local legend or overlooked by mainstream history. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's keep the conversation and the curiosity alive. After all, the next great archaeological revelation might just begin with a single viewer's insight. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, some of history's most fascinating stories are still waiting to be told.